Now, it's time, though, for our next debate. Up next, it's Emily, and Emily's going to tell us whether Labour are getting it right with their plans to make misogyny a hate crime. So she's here, she's fresh from the kitchen.
Oi!
It's Emily with her Carver palaver.
I was about to say I don't want misogyny to be a hate crime, but maybe after that one we should get him banged up. Anyway, Angela Rayner, the lovely Angela Rayner, has announced that misogyny will be a hate crime under Labour. So, is this what women want? I think it's safe to say we certainly don't want rampant, unchecked misogyny, do we, Darren? So what's the problem with making misogyny a crime? Why not make it illegal? Surely that's the only way to stop this horrible misogyny and hatred of women. In her speech, Rayner gave no real explanation as to why it's a brilliant idea, though. Let's have a look.
Next Labour government will amend the Equalities Act to introduce a legal duty for employers to take all reasonable steps to stop sexual harassment before it starts. But that's not all. We will make misogyny a hate crime.
Well, there you go, rapturous applause, but rape is already a crime, sexual assault is already a crime, persistent sexual harassment is already a crime last time I looked. Now, the Law Commission looked into this. They had an intensive consultation and they came to the conclusion that making misogyny a specific hate crime would not be effective in countering the very real problem of violence, abuse and harassment of females, and it may actually be counterproductive. So what I think we need is better policing, better enforcement of the law and a better resourced justice system, not piling ever more laws on top of laws on top of other laws. Now, full disclosure, I have a problem, I think, with hate crimes as a concept. If you punch someone in the face and it's deemed to have had a sexist motive, should it be punished more severely just by virtue of that? And who decides the legal definition of misogyny? And do we then need misandry too to be on the statute books? I'm not so sure. But as the great Claire Fox said in the House of Lords, it's tokenistic, avoids the real problems that face women, and is unlikely to help us at all. So there we go. Now, hate crimes, it's quite a controversial topic. Darren, do you think we need misogyny to be a hate crime?
Well, I'm the proud owner of a non-crime hate crime.
Right.
So, which was one of those things that they got rid of.
Hate incident.
Hate incident.
Ah, yes.
Hate incident. That's the title of it. Look, I think that this is the infantilization of people, right? Where do we then have a chilling effect on comedy, for example? I mean, you might not like a comedy. I'm trying to think of a sketch of maybe a Roy Chubby Brown in this world or someone like that. A mother-in-law joke.
Or anything Leo
misogyny? Is that misogyny? What I just said at the start there about you being in the kitchen. Obviously a joke. You weren't in the kitchen, you're not very good at it.
She is, actually. I've had her food. It's very good.
And the point is, does this have a chilling effect on speech? Does this have a chilling effect where people feel so scared, terrified to say anything that's slightly risque for being accused of one of these new M words?
I've got to be honest, I am more interested in the fact that the Law Commission actually looked into this very policy and made a recommendation to Dominic Raab, who was the minister in charge of this issue at the time, which was not to make misogyny a hate crime. Now, this was an independent commission commissioned by the government to look into this very issue, and that commission said, no, this is not going to help the situation at all. And if we look at all of the legislation that has been put in place, let's put hate crime legislation in the first place, has it actually stopped hate crime? No. We have actually seen hate crime in some groups. Let's take against transgender Brits, for example. Most recently this year, in some data which came out, transgender hate crime is up 11%. So the point is, when we legislate against something, it doesn't always end the problem that we're trying to solve, and maybe we should try and find other means of solving the problem other than legislation.
Hate crimes don't end in very many convictions either.
Because they're stupid.
But I think Albie's made the complete wrong point, because, you know, as a gay person, the reason the numbers of hate crimes reported hate crimes have risen has a lot to do, actually, with people feeling able to report and to pursue some of the things that they've been on the receiving end of. You know, I'm a gay man, I'm a practising homosexual, and I feel empowered by a law...
I don't think you're practising.
TMI.
I feel empowered by that law if somebody is abusive to me in the street. And I managed to get a hate crime conviction.
No, but what about
a man
Emily's
who threatened
point?
to stab me?
Hang
And
on.
so let me say this. We had Wayne Couzens, that monster who murdered Sarah Everard. And we know from that trial that he had written all sorts of horrendous messages, what some people would call jokes, but clearly weren't funny, in WhatsApp groups. I think if you had a law that said that that kind of behaviour could be confronted, then you might stop some of those monsters before they go too far.
You think everybody that makes a joke at women's expense is some monster who's going to go on to kill someone? That's the most ridiculous, asinine thing that I've ever heard in my life. I mean, instead of adding more categories...
recognise when people are behaving in those ways and
but that's a nonsense.
it.
This is the danger of this kind of... we should be scrapping hate crime laws instead of adding more categories to them, because it can be abused by the state to persecute whoever they want. So you can say, oh, look, this person made a joke in a WhatsApp, even though it's a joke that perhaps, you know, 80% of the population might make or might laugh at. This person made that joke, so it gives the state an excuse to persecute that person.
Also, I mean, you make a good point. If someone assaults someone, as I said in my monologue there, if I punch you on the nose and it's because you perceive that it's because I'm a homophobe, should I get a longer sentence? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't care why you're punching me in the face. I care that you've punched me in the face. You know, I want you to go to prison for punching me in the face. I don't want people to go to prison for hurty words.
Yeah.
We're getting too concerned about offence in this country and taking offence.
But Darren, there are people who are violent towards people because they are gay or because they are black or because of their religions. We've spoken about it on this show before.
Exactly.
So I don't like it when people make the argument that, oh, it's about hurty words. It's not about hurty words.
Well,
people are... I'm sorry, Leo, it's not.
It is.
People are... That is not what we are talking about.
Lecture on it.
Oh, goodness me.
What can straight white men be added to this list of categories for hate crime? You just minimised me because I'm a straight white man, which is a hate crime, so you should be in jail.
Because you have institutional power over someone like me.
Oh, in that case,
that's why hate crimes exist.
You're fired.
Hang on.
I'm using my power.
Benjamin, should misandry be a hate crime?
But the truth
hatred
is,
of men.
society isn't structured in that way.
Oh, yes,
that men
is.
have that ability to overpower women in day-to-day lives. You know, find me a man who has been wolf-whistled by a woman in the street. It ain't happened.
What about a man that had been wolf-whistled by a man? What have you wolf-whistled
It's never
someone?
happened. I have never been wolf-whistled, and therefore it's clearly never happened.
Don't hold your breath, love.